Greetings, everybody. I'm Scott Rodell here at the Great River Taoist Center, home to our Academy of Chinese Swordsmanship, and obviously I've got an unboxing for you. I have clipped open the end to save us a couple of minutes, but I have not peeked inside yet. I just said, pull out some of the stuff here. I do actually know what this is. Sometimes I get stuff sent to me by surprise. I'm like, what's that box out front? People will just send me stuff sometimes, but I even know exactly what this is going to look like because it is a sword that I designed for a private client. So this is a one-of-a-kind piece. Oops. And it was made by Kevin Colwell. So he forged the blade, everything from scratch, crafted the fittings, did everything from my drawing. But it's always, of course, I'm really interested to see this because you have something in mind when you do a drawing. When I make these designs for a client, they tell me what they want, what sort of sword do they want, a Dao or Jian, length, all that kind of thing, and what sort of aesthetic they're going for, what's the style sword that they want. And this client wanted something in the Ming style. So why I say this is my design, because yes, I drew it out. It came out of my mind, if you will. It is Ming in style. So in some ways you could say it's not my design. You could say it's my recreation of the design. I wouldn't say interpretation. I haven't really changed anything. I try to really stick to historical examples. So after I chat with a client and say, okay, what is it that you want? What are you looking for? Some people like something that's a little more decorative, more engraving or so on. What kind of scabbard do they want? Do they want a hardwood scabbard or lacquered scabbard? All those kind of details. After I've gone over that with the client, then I come back and I look at, I draw something up. I often have, of course, an image in my head. It's forming as I'm speaking with the client. And then I come back and after I have that, maybe do some rough sketches. Ooh, nice. Of course, I'm going to say it's nice. It's my design, but wow, look at that. It's really amazing. Look at that. So if once I chat with the client, then I go back and look at the historical sources, and from those, I sort of just check myself because sometimes you may have a picture. What was that like? So here is very typical Ming Chinese Jian. Some of the features that make this typically Ming as opposed to Qing is the use of the guard. Let me actually draw the blade here. Wow, it's a really good stout blade. That's really something. I'll have to get it close up. We'll do some stills for you because this has a very nice pattern, twist core pattern on the blade. It's really beautiful. And the hardened edge really shines. Now, this blade is not etched really dark because that's how the Chinese did them. There's a little bit of etching. You'll see the pattern show up. Boy, that is a stout blade. Set this scabbard down for a moment. Wow, balances really nicely. So some of the features that make this more typically Ming is, as I mentioned a moment ago, that disc sort of guard. Very popular during the Ming. They also had the Taotie style of guard, which was, that's common throughout Chinese history, that Jian had that Taotie sort of guard. But during the Ming, they seem to also really like these disc sort of guards. Other thing is this shape of the tunko here, that this tunko with this collar, what in Japanese sword you'd call a habaki, in Chinese that's a tunko. This shape of this one is one that we find on the pre-existing or the few surviving examples of Ming swords. Blade-wise and balance-wise, the few times, and I should point out, the Ming Dynasty ended in 1644, so there's not a lot of Ming blades to handle to see how they, what they're like, the balances, weight, and so on. But the few that I have been able to see and handle are the same as, I should say the same, relatively, yeah, I would say the same as Qing blades. So that also tells us probably the swordsmanship was very similar, their techniques and things that they used. Some things that are different, though, of course, I mentioned the tunko and the guard. You do see the discard sometimes on Qing era Jian, but not as frequently. One thing that is definitely different is the shape of the pommel. You see this one, it's a lobed shape, which you also had during the Qing, but they have a hole here in the pommel. Now, sometimes it's a really big hole, and the lanyard would go through that. On Qing swords, this is one thing that definitely is the difference between Ming and Qing Jian, is that that hole is here on the grip, or through the grip, I should say. So that's something that's different between Ming and Qing. And also this sort of elongated shape, it's just lobed, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 kind of curves to that. That you also see a 5 lobe sort of guard on Qing Jian, or sorry, assuming not guard, pommel on Qing Jian, but they're usually not so tall like this. You also see sometimes on the Ming Jian the same number of lobes, but they're arranged in sort of a pretty much isosceles triangle, fits in there quite nice. So, but this one is similar to one, again, where there aren't a lot of Ming period Jian to handle, authentic ones to handle, to see what their fittings are like and the balance and so on. There's quite a lot of artwork. And so I go back and I look at all of those, again, after speaking with the client, say, what is it you're really looking for? And big thing is often how decorative do you want it to be? But this sword, I would say, really keeps that Ming sort of aesthetic, that it's very sort of clean lines, very simple, very clean. One thing I love here on this pommel, I got to get you a close up in there, is that it's recessed. The way I drew it, and the design here, the way it loops around, that Kevin had to really carve that out, that steel. So that's a solid chunk of metal, and he's didn't add on a piece, but carved that out, and that's really amazing work that he's kept it so nice and clean, and it's just beautiful. So that really, so far I'm really happy. I can't say if this is a recommended buy or not, since it's mine, because I would recommend it, but quite happy with that. Looking at putting it together into the scabbard, well, it fits really nice and tight, as of course you'd expect from a new sword. One thing about the scabbard you're probably noticing that you don't see very often, definitely didn't see during the Qing period, is this fitting on the top and bottom, and kind of often goes around the scabbard. That's typical of Ming swords. If you look at the swords in, again, paintings and also on statues, you have the and the spirit walkway in Beijing for the Ming tombs, and other tombs you'll see, there's military officials stand, they have their sword by their side, typically Jian, often they have other weapons, but you see those, a lot of those examples have this fitting that's top and bottom. And again, that didn't get preserved or continued use into the Qing, probably because it's a lot of extra work. Typically, they just have a couple of fittings holding the scabbard together or reinforcing the scabbard. You also probably will note here, take a look at the shape of the shape with this sort of lobes here as it goes around. Those are mirrored here and here. So that's all part of the overall design. The scabbard, of course, is nice black lacquer, and that's really nice. Otherwise, I really tried to keep, what the client wanted, that sort of simple elegance that you find in Ming art in general, Ming furniture. Sometimes Qing art gets very intricate, you might say. For some people, that's, it kind of depends on your taste. Some people like it, some people don't, but it tends to be far more intricate in its work, whereas Ming art, especially I'm thinking furniture, has nice, simple flowing lines, and I really tried to keep that aesthetic here. So, Ming style Jian, designed and drawn out by myself, blade forged, all the fittings crafted by Kevin Colwell. If you're interested in something like that, give me a ring and let me know. I'll tell you honestly, they don't come cheap, but every piece is unique. Thanks, everybody. I hope you enjoy that. Stay strong. 再见.